I remember staring at my Unity screen one night. A half-finished tutorial project, 20 scripts open, and nothing that actually worked. That's when it hit me. I'd spent months making games, but never finishing a single one. I wasn't a game developer. I was just a professional restarter. If this sounds like you, endless prototypes, tutorials, and unfinished ideas, then this video is for you. Because until you finish your first game, you're not a game developer. But by the end, you'll know exactly how to become one. Like I usually do, I'm going to say the point of the video straight away. If you are a game developer, your number one priority should be making games. It's just as simple as that. And making games should be our basically only priority. But right now, chances are that you're not doing this, because a lot of people, they fall into this trap of being perfectionist. Like there are several reasons why you aren't finishing games, which we'll come back to, and we'll find which reason applies to you. But some people, they think that, well, no one is going to play my game anyway, so what's the point? While some people, they just struggle with finishing. They have like very bad planning, so it turns into a mess. Like every project they make just becomes completely messy, so they can't finish it. And some people just don't think about it. They think they're not good enough, and they don't think more about making games. But if you're watching this video and you know the basics and you made a few experiments, prototypes, then your number one priority should be to make games. Simple as that. Because if you focus on prototypes, tutorials, and just do unfinished projects for like long enough, then this is you. You're a writer that has thousands of unfinished drafts. Like you can't call yourself an author if you have no released books. And that's basically you. You're the game developer that has no games. So can you call yourself a game developer if you haven't developed any games? No, you can't. Now we have like a general overview of like the mindset here, but this is going to be the meat. The reason you're not actually finishing games, it's very important to understand the reasons. And if you have like one of these reasons, you might fall into one of the others. So it's very important that you understand all of them. So listen closely. There can be a lot of reasons why you aren't finishing games or you aren't making games. But what I like to do is to separate them into 3 different causes and just focus on the cause itself. So the first cause is going to be perfectionism. This is basically where you think you don't have the skill yet to actually make a game, or you think you can do it, but it's not going to be good. So you think, well, if it's not a good game, then why should I make it? Which is stupid, by the way, but that's the belief, that's perfectionism. Or you might think that you don't have the skill yet. But chances are, if you made like a few prototypes before and you can do like basic things, then you can actually make your games, and you can use your first game to actually learn things, because that's how we learn game development. That's by making games. Painters improve their painting by painting. Cooks, they improve their meals by making meals. So on and so on. I say this a lot on this channel, but at least perfectionism, that's the first cause. So if that sounded familiar, then you know your cause. So the second cause is going to be a wrong belief about learning. So this wrong belief is that you learn by watching, like watching tutorials or doing these follow along tutorials. So it might as well be like something that you do practically inside your own game engine. Like you follow along, you make your like own project, just that you have the video on your other screen, or you're like pausing the video to implement the things yourself in your own engine. If you do that, then you have a wrong belief about learning. If you watch these tutorials or these project videos, then you have a wrong belief about learning, because this is not the way you learn. Like tutorials and these videos on YouTube, they can be good for watching overviews, but it's not going to be like your main learning resource. Your main learning resource, guess what, should be making games. And you're not making games yet, so you're not going to learn. That's why your number one priority should be, if you can't make games yet, if you don't have the skill, like honestly don't have the skill, like you're not a perfectionist, but you just don't have the skill, then as I've mentioned like a little before, you're going to make these prototypes and experiments. But once you have like the minimal amount of knowledge that you need to make a full game, like that you can release, then you should actually just make that game. And as I said, that should be a goal for many reasons. But one of the reasons is that it's the best way to learn. It's the most effective way to learn. So that's one of the reasons why it should be your priority no matter what. So the second cause was wrong belief about learning. If that sounds unfamiliar, then you know your cause. The third one is going to be lack of structure. That's basically where you start project, but you can't finish it. And I'm not going to like focus a lot on this now, because when I made this video, I wanted to make it specifically for more beginners. But just like the other ones, I have a lot of videos on my channel about all of these things, specifically lack of structure. I'm not going to talk a lot about that now. But in general, it's basically where you start projects, but you can't finish it because of like lack of planning. You planned it so bad, like I talked about a little before. Like you just planned the architecture so badly. You made the code like messy and you made like quick code. Like that can be so many things. But that's more like an intermediate thing. I have videos on that on my channel, just like the other ones, if you want to go more into detail about your specific course. So after this video, if you want to learn more about your course, then you can obviously go on my channel, you can look at them. But I'm going to tell you everything you need to know in this video, so not need to click off or watch them if you don't want to. So now you know all the 3 courses. I'm going to tell you the beautiful thing about them all. This is very important that you know. And the beautiful part about them all is that they all vanish away once you finish your first game. Simple as that. And this is something that I can give you a personal example for. When I made my first game, for example, I had all of these. I had very bad perfectionism. I'm a perfectionist. I had 90% perfectionist on my personality test, whatever. I had a wrong belief about learning before I started. So I thought I was going to learn by watching these tutorials. That was completely wrong too. And I also had a lack of structure. I just didn't plan my game. I just made it very quickly, but somehow I managed to get through it and finished it anyway. But it was hard and I wasted weeks. So I don't recommend you do that as well. But either way, once you finish your first game, all of these will vanish and you'll realize the truth. That perfectionism doesn't have a place in game dev. Perfectionism, it hurts your progress. You also realize that you learn by building games and prototypes, not by watching tutorials. And you also obviously learn to structure effectively because you, especially if you do it like me, you know the importance of planning after the game because you realize that you wasted weeks by not planning good enough in the start. So all of these vanish away when you complete your first game. But you can probably see that this is like a loop and you're kind of confused. Like Kevin, I'm struggling finishing my first game. You're telling me to just finish my first game and it's going to be fine. Well, I understand that this is a loop. To break the loop, the first thing you have to do is first find your cause. It can be one of the 3, perfectionism, wrong belief about learning, or lack of structure. One of these 3. Then you can go on my channel, look at the relevant video, and you can learn more about your cause. So just look at the titles. But inside of Smart Indie, I'll go through all of these courses step by step, so you release your first game in only 60 days without overwhelm or like any of these questions. So you can join Smart Indie today and everything is going to be laid out step by step for you. It's going to be very easy. It like removes all the overwhelm from you so that you can just focus on building your own games. Smart Indie isn't like a course where it tells you how to make like one specific game with like one idea that I came up with. That's not what Smart Indie is. Smart Indie is like a teacher, a buddy that follows you through the entire journey of becoming a game developer, which happens when you release your first game. So it takes you from a complete beginner to someone that has released their very first game in only 60 days. And after those 60 days, you can call yourself a game developer. So if that sounded interesting to you and you want to remove all the overwhelm, then click the first link in the description. So that's everything I had for this video. If you found this video useful, click the first link in the description. If not, then you can go watch a relevant video on my channel about your course and you can go from there. So thank you for watching.